Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 2. And today I'm gonna be giving you part 16 of What If Naruto Was Put Through Hell and Adopted by the Raikage. Remember to get this one to 100 like as usual. Share this to all of your friends in your social media platform. And also guys, stay in tune for the brand new episodes coming over Anime King and Anime King 3. If you're new, yes, you heard that correctly. I indeed have 3 channels, Anime King 2, Anime King 3, which I post what if fun every single day for you guys to enjoy. So go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and support, and yeah, without further ado, what do you say we begin this new episode? Start the intro. So, the last time we left off, the Raikage was furious. The man wanted to kill Minato, but Minato spoke to him and told him that there wasn't any harm dealt to Naruto after all. So what was the problem, even though there was some harsh things that were done, but he was fine now. The man destroyed Minato's office as he wanted to rip his head clean off. But to get back his son, he calmed himself down, as he wouldn't let the man hurt Naruto ever again. As Minato had something planned though, as he called Jiraiya and Tsunade. He was done trying to ask for favors. He was a Hokage and they would listen to him. Naruto was called to the office as he went, where he was subdued with a seal rather quickly as he dropped to his knees. The fox growled angrily as it wanted to rip Minato's head off, as Naruto felt his body being petrified. Yamato was there as well, placed another seal on Naruto, as they found all the remains inside cold sand that Kushina had ripped out when she emerged. As Naruto was shocked, how could she be alive? But then he found out about the seal that was placed on her. He didn't know anything about that, as all the remains of the envoys, so everything was Naruto after all. Jiraiya and Tsunade couldn't condone Naruto's actions, but what Minato did next made him look like the villain. He knew that Naruto would do anything for Kumo and want to see his friends and his family survive, so he decided to target them, making Naruto subdue to his commands. He would fix Kushina, he would be the son that she never had, he would be there for her, and when the 5 years are up, he would still get his choice. Well, that is what Minato told him, but he would not give Naruto a choice, as things were going towards his demand now, as he told Naruto to go and pack, that he's moving into the Namikaze household. As Naruto had no choice but to obey, as he couldn't even tell Kuro what is going on because of the jutsu. But the snake understand because the snakes and Naruto heard everything. But this would not hold him down for too long, but for now he had to separate from them. Meanwhile, Yujito was waiting for Naruto when she smelled him as she followed his scent. She saw him arrive towards a door in a rather fancy part of Konoha, where she watches that red-haired woman open the door, and Naruto called her Mom, with the most happiest voice ever, as she hugged him and he hugged her back. She was shocked. A week passed. The Kumo ninjas had been trying to get in contact with Naruto, but there was none. Even Kakashi, but every clone that he found, they always dispersed, giving him no choice to talk to Naruto at all. Even the Raikage had come to him, as they could get no contact with Naruto. He was going out of his way to avoid them. But Kakashi knew that something was wrong. Kushina was out of her demented state as she was back, seeming happy for now. Jiraiya was sent out by Minato to search every crook and nanny of the elemental nation to find his daughter. Minato was showing them that he was Hokage and they couldn't know a damn thing about it. As Tsunade and Jiraiya was put to work. As Kakashi saw Naruto's eyes were not there. They were dead. Like the boy was showing no emotion at all, but yet, When he spoke to Kushina, he seemed happy, but the moment she left, his eyes returned back normal, like there was nothing inside. They were currently being put into the team. Kakashi was furious because Minato had kicked him off the team, saying that he found someone else to train Naruto Yakumo inside, while he had to get back his old team. Sasuke just got more arrogant, that really pissed him off. Sakura was trying to do better, but the girl was still a long way off, and this new guy as well, he didn't really know him. But still, Kakashi was furious about that, and Naruto was going out of his way to avoid all of them. He didn't know what they did, but they did something to Naruto. This was not Naruto that they knew. So yeah guys, so basically that's what I thought. You guys can switch across and please check it out for yourself. So this is this new episode. Ibiki was feeling uncomfortable. As for the entire 45 minutes, Naruto didn't write down a single thing on the paper. He just stared at Ibiki. That cold, dead man stare that was even making Ibiki uncomfortable and nervous. Him, Ibiki, who was the leading member of the IT department, but that look in Naruto's eyes. But seeing that the 45 minutes was up, he called it. The time is up. It's no time for the 10 questions, he said. Yakumo sighed in relief. She had managed to answer them all. Being homeschooled, that meant she read a lot, and she studied on her own. And she was able to answer all the questions. Sai had done route training, but still to double check a small ink fleet had to fly around, gathering information. Before taking it though, you must know. If I give you the question and you fail, you will never, ever be able to pass genuine rank. But if you give up now, you can take the exam next year. What? We came this far and you're telling us if we fail, we're gonna stay genuine forever? Yagura screeched. Yeah, how fair can that be? Iori asked. Silence. I'm the instructor this year and I'll meet the rules. Choose wisely. You have 3 minutes to think it over. As Ibiki turned his gaze back towards Naruto, that stare was really pissing him off now. Well, you think you're gonna get a passing grade by writing it all down in 15 minutes, brat? Asked Ibiki. As Naruto started to chuckle. He didn't laugh. A full-blown laughter that caused everyone to turn their attention towards him. Oi, what's so funny? That guy, that one in the tuning class. Why are they here? Said Naruto. As Ibiki blinked at that. So, Naruto had already made the 2 tunings. He must have already concluded that something was up with the exam. Maybe they just like to take the text for good old times. But tell me, why didn't you try to copy? I don't need to, said Naruto. I asked around what 10 question will be. The do or die question, said Naruto. And I do my homework. I guess you should have done yours. A tick mark appeared on Ibiki's face. As he felt the boy's aura, it was dark, it was cold. And what if I had changed it? Ibiki asked. Well, it doesn't matter, said Naruto. I don't really care about rank. What matters is the power behind the rank. The guts to go through everything, no matter the name or the rank. Sakura glanced over as she remembered his words. It was still him, although he has changed a lot. Showing off no emotion, his face completely blank like a ghost. It was still him. Despite the changes, despite his clothes changing into black and red, with the Uzumaki spiral on the back, and the Uzumaki spiral on the cargo pants that he was wearing, and his black sandals, and not to mention his hair had been cut to resemble the 4th Hokage. If you put the both of them in the same room and look at them, they look exactly alike. Only thing was, Naruto was a bit shorter, but he will get there soon enough. Ibiki narrowed his eyes around the room where no one else was giving up. You all pass, he said. As he stepped closer to Naruto, I'll let your lack of respect go for the service you've given me. But bite your tongue next time. Uncle will be the death of me. Naruto said nothing as the window broke. As Uncle rolled into the room and got into a triumphant pose as she looked around. Ibiki, you've gone soft, she said. There are more teams here than at the graduation. Give the fault to your little brother here, Ibiki pointed out. He convinced the others to stay and explained the real reason behind the test before I even could. Well, he's good at that, Uncle said. Alright, for those of you who stayed, meet me at the Forest of Death gates in half an hour. As Naruto slowly got up, the blue hair couldn't reach from the sound move in front of him. Thank you for your words of encouragement, Naruto-san, she said. You really helped us. Her colleague, the red-haired one known as Karen, rolled her eyes at the girl fidgeting. Yeah, now move along, Samara-chan. Yori is waiting for us, said Karin as she pulled the girl along. As Yakumo moved closer to Naruto, Naruto-kun, she said. Yakumo, let's get going, said Naruto. The sooner we do, the sooner we finish. You. As Naruto paused, he turned towards a voice that spoke. You're interesting. A red-haired boy, with bags under his eyes, a gort on his back, and he was wearing his sand protector. His arms were crossed. As he looked at Naruto, who looked back at him, to his sides were sand ninjas. As his teammates, a female, and another boy. And you're strange, said Naruto. Hey! Don't make Gaara mad, you fool, the boy with purple makeup on said. As the girl with a giant fan looked at Naruto, and looked back at Gaara, looking a bit worried. You reek of blood. Are you strong, Gaara asked. As sand started to leak from his gort, Gaara, please, don't make a fuss here, the female said. Temari, shut up, or I'll kill you, he said. As he stepped closer, are you strong, he asked. Naruto stared into his eyes, not saying anything for a while until he spoke. Find out for yourself, he said. He poofed away. Gaara blinked in surprise. A clone? All this time he was talking to a clone? What's his name, Gaara asked. He turned toward Yakumo and sighed. Yakumo was the one to speak. He's my teammate and he's Naruto, she said. Naruto, huh? Mother. We're like his blood, said Gaara as he turned to walk away. Kankuro stopped as he looked towards them. Your teammate is dead. If he crossed Gaara, trust me. Meanwhile, the real Naruto was in the forest of death. This is where he felt at home. Kabuto had escaped before the envoys could catch him. Of that, Naruto was happy. The cruel mass envoy that was his guardian was looking over his shoulder. I take it you passed the exam. Obviously, my informants never failed me, said Naruto, as a snake slithered from Naruto's sleeve and went back in the forest. The Hokage said no talking snakes. Hisses aren't talking. I just have to hiss back, said Naruto. Remember the Hokage words. You just have to make sure that most Konoha ninjas get to the tower. To make a good impression, the rest does not matter, said Yamato. Yes sir, said Naruto. I'll do it. As Yamato flashed away, leaving Naruto there to wait for the others to arrive. The boy's chuckle was of enjoyment. Yamato was starting to get worried. Despite the condition that the boy was in, and the amount of stress that he should be under right now, he seemed to be enjoying himself. And that was something to fear. Just what exactly was he gonna do in the forest? Time skip. The forest of death was quiet. No birds, not even the ferocious lions, move. Because all of the animals knew that day was the day that the snakes move. Without headbands. Without any sense that they were summons. They move. They were snakes. They had no hands, no feet, but they had tails. Powerful toxins as well that flew through their veins. As hundreds, probably thousands of snakes slicker on the ground or slip around tree trunks. They made absolutely no noise. They were quiet and deadly. Today would be a day to remember. Sure, some of them were gonna die, but they were gonna be avenged. Their boss was coming back home, and he would be treated like a king. Atop the tower, in the center of the Forest of Death, the Kages of their respective villages, Konoha and Kumo, stood and waited. The Raikage was furious, seeing those dead eyes from his son for the past week. Always a clone. He had been placed on a powerful genjutsu that was certain by A. But the alliance had been made. He didn't want to sacrifice his son's happiness for any benefit of any trade though. What good did money do if you were gonna send your kid to death? Even if his son was on their genjutsu, there was nothing he could do. But the thing that made him realize that something had changed was Naruto. Without the Kumo headband, he didn't have it on anywhere on him. He had the Konoha one now on his forehead. He had changed clothing to black and red. Something was wrong. Yes, it was. B had to forcefully restrain Yujito to calm her down. Who knew that wasn't her Naruto who was avoiding her? That wasn't him. They did something to him. The fourth Hokage instead didn't seem to care, as he spoke with some Chunin examiners. As he gave some wave to some people as they spoke to him. As he stood by the window, looking through, as he looked out at the forest of death. A calculated his chances of murdering the Hokage right there. grab him by surprise and snap his neck. While the Hidden Stone would probably thank him for that, they would probably declare war on him, as no one has ever broken a treaty that was signed in the Land of Iron before. That was sacred grounds where peaceful negotiations were held. Not a normal treaty where you went to other villages. It was a treaty where you went to the Land of Iron and spoke and resolved all problems. It seems they have all arrived at the front gate, said Minato in a normal tone. Both your Kumo team have already gotten to the second part already. Obviously, Ace said. We train our Genins to make them the best. Good, we do that too, said Minato. Hokage-sama, the forest is too quiet, Hayate said. He will be the examiner once the teams arrive. Even Genma said so as well. Something is wrong. There's nothing to worry about, Hayate. The forest of death is fine, said Minato. As his eyes darted through the forest, indeed, the place was too quiet. If you say so, Hokage-sama, I'll report all clear to the gates. As Hayate made his way off, the Raikage grunted. I take it the forest being quiet is a bad omen. A thought out loud. After all, on the highest peaks of Kumo mountains, if the wind stopped howling, that was a sign of a thunderstorm. Is that some sort of metaphor coming from you, said Minato, as he turned towards A. He was surprised usually. A was a man of fists and actions, not of words. Yes, A said. Minato looked at the man, waiting for an explanation. As A sighed, it means the quieter it is, and the more things are smooth, the more horrendous and terrible things will be when the quiet is interrupted. Meanwhile, a distance away from them, in front of gate number 1, Naruto at the board, look on his face. I can sense you, he said, to no one in particular. He didn't seem like you wanted to reply. Or did he? I didn't think anyone would be able to sense me. A grass, Ninja said, coming from behind a rather large stone. I didn't, said Naruto. If you didn't, how could you? The grass ninja asked. The grass ninja smelled the boy. He reeked of blood and snakes. Two things that the grass ninja enjoy. If I say I sense you once, you wouldn't believe it. But if I say I sense you once again, the hidden shinobi will pop up, thinking their location has been discovered. The grass ninja laughed at that. I guess Kabuto was right about his intelligence and his cunningness. Another me, huh? Let's see it in the forest then. Between him and Sasuke, who will I mark? So interesting, grass ninja said. Did you leave your team behind? That I did, said Naruto. They can handle walking till here, I hope. Let me ask you something. By the spiral on your clothing, are you... The grass ninja stopped mid-sentence as a boy's eyes flashed a crimson red. What I am and what I wish to be are two different things, he said. And I do not like speaking about it. The grass ninja shrugged the murderous glare off. Kabuto had told him about the Kyuubi inside of the boy. Yes, Naruto could be marked, but he would never become his body. He still needed the Uchiha. He needed the Sharingan. Still, he needed to act a bit scared now. I see. I won't ask anything else then. As the grass ninja returned, moving back towards his two teammates who just arrived. Anko arrived a moment later at a leisure pace, thinking that she would be the first one to get here. Instead, Naruto, her ray of sunshine, in a dark and otherwise boring life, stood there. He had a small smile looking at her. And the grass ninjas were also here as well. Anko cursed herself. If she had made it here sooner, she could have spent some time speaking with the boy. Instead, as Genma and Hayate arrived to help her sort out the administration papers for the farce, Naruto surprised her. As he took the paper, he bit his thumb as he trailed his blood over his name before handing it back to her. Anko was about telling that's not how you write your name, but when she looked back, the blood twists, and there it stood, Naruto Uzumaki, with a sword at the end that looked like a snake. Well then, good luck, she said, as she stashed the paper away with the grass ninjas, who being the first groups to be here, were moved towards the farthest away gate. Slowly the teams started to fill in. Shinkansen, the boy on the Kumo team, was the first came in. As he looked over as he wondered why Naruto was giving the cold shoulder, and was staring so intensely forward. As Shinkansen narrowed his eyes, it was a clone. Yes, he knew it was a clone. Despite of his bloodline and how fast he was, Naruto was just more cunning. Mogura came next, digging through the soil. As he looked over to where Naruto was, he didn't say a word though. He felt the vibration in the air and the ground. He couldn't see well, but he could hear and feel the vibration. and could also hear the chattering of teeth. When people were scared, he could feel the heartbeat speeding up, but none of this was coming from Naruto. As Mogira signed the paper that he was giving, it took a moment for Hiro to arrive, still hesitant, but at least not too much. Whenever she kept quiet, she had this special ability to just blend in the background, where people hardly noticed her. As she stared at the back of the boy, who had changed so much in the past week, as he refused to talk to any of them, so she ignored him, as she signed her paper as well. The next to arrive was Kiba and his team. "Boss," Kiba said with a smile. As Naruto turned, "Kiba, how are you doing?" said Naruto. "Just fine, boss," said Kiba as Akamaru looked over Naruto, looking for the black snake that he liked to bark at, but it wasn't there. "It seems like you're already the heart stealer, boss. You even got that blue hair sound chick to talk to you." Naruto said Shino. Unlike Kiba, Shino saw something in Naruto's eyes. There was a bit of worry. And Naruto wasn't worried about himself. He never seemed to worry about himself before. No, he worried when people close to him might get hurt. Hinata, on the other hand, was afraid of Naruto. Since that day when they were on the roof, she was still afraid of him till this day. As Naruto grinned, but Shino saw right through it, a fake grin. When the shopkeepers would throw him out of stores, that grin, he placed on his face, acting normal, but something was wrong, Shino could tell. As Naruto patted him on the left shoulder, Shino felt something slitter inside his cloak. Something small, but something. He raised an eyebrow as Naruto spoke. "Good luck charm," he said. It was probably something that will help them. As Shino just narrowed his eyes slightly. Not that you could tell with the glasses. Shino just nodded. As Kiba turned, his boss had just patted Shino's shoulder. "Was that a good luck charm?" "Good luck charm to you too as well, Kiba," said Naruto. As Kiba nodded, as they went to sign their papers, Sasuke, Sakura, and Yagura then arrived. As Sakura looked over at Naruto, and there was this silent thought that was exchanged between them. "Are you fine?" "All fine." She slowly nodded, as she heard the news that Naruto was transferred into that mansion of the woman that was trying to kill her, and the woman that Naruto killed, something that she still couldn't understand to this day. Naruto had pierced her right to the head, and yet she was still alive, as Naruto had paid the price for her. The woman, she saw that woman and she spoke. It was a clear warning. The only reason why she didn't come after her once again was because of Naruto, and that woman has changed everything about him, his appearance, his hair, his clothing. Just what tortures did he have to go through in that house? Still, she could do nothing but smile awkwardly, and she didn't know what to do. "Sakura, move it," said Sasuke. She was being too slow, they didn't have time to waste. "You drop this," said Naruto. As Sakura held out her hand as Naruto placed a green, snake-like earring in her hand. "It's kind of cute. It matches your eyes." As he turned his back, she blinked. How did he know that she had her earlobes pierced? Obviously, he didn't know. He couldn't know. But she couldn't help but blush as she placed it on her right ear. It even felt warm, as it made her happy. Probably he was nervous about giving her a gift, so he waited until they arrived, as he held onto it. "Finished couple talking," Sasuke grunted, just to be interrupted by Yagura. "You know, Sasuke, you should stop acting like a damn prick," as they made their way towards their next gate. As the next team then arrived, as Lee was already being cursed by Tenten for going around Konoha twice before coming here. That is why they were late. As both Naruto and Lee then stared at each other, as Tenten trembled in fear as she knew what was going to happen. Neji sighed. "This is a nightmare," he said. "Yosh!" both boys said, as a strange genjutsu filled the air, like some kind of move they had to activate with the strange move of theirs. "Let the fire of youth burn brightly in us today." And with that, waves appeared behind them, crashing on the sandy island that they were on. Tenten pulled out one of her kunais and looked at Neji, who shook his head. "It's not a genjutsu," said Neji. "It's like they exist on a different reality or something else." "Actually, I wanted to kill them," she said. "That is the most unyouthful thing to do," the both of them said, making her sigh even more, as Naruto handed to Lee a green scale belt. "Take this, Lee," said Naruto. Lee took the belt as he felt the weight. "Naruto-kun, is this what I think it is?" Lee's eyes had the fire of youth burned brightly at that moment. "It is. It's a wait's weight." As Lee started to tear up, as she started to shed tears of joy. "Stop it, you two," Uncle said, finally interrupting that weird kind of genjutsu that seemed to be affecting everyone around. Lee gave Naruto a salute as he made his way off with his teammates. Anko smiled as she was glad to see Naruto acting that way. As she made her way, the Sun team didn't arrive, as Gaara saw the boy who tricked him with the clone. As Kankuro started to get nervous, they felt the killer intent coming from Gaara as he looked over at Naruto was casually leaning against the wall. As Naruto snapped his head around, keep your sand in your gourd before you get disqualified. Gaara was surprised. Mostly people stared at him with fear or disgust, but in Naruto's eyes there was nothing, no fear, no disgust. He wasn't afraid of him, and yet he wasn't disgusted by him. Gaara could tell that this one in front of him knew blood, that he has had kills, a lot of them on his hand, just by those look in his eyes. I wish to fight you, Gaara said. You'll get your wish, said Naruto. The exam is divided into two parts. Kankuro and Temari blinked when they noticed Gaara was actually listening. He was actually listening, not outright trying to kill him. Even as San returned back to the gourd, that was shocking. This is the first part, the second part is in a month. To show off our skills in front of the daimyos and all those public. We will fight there. If you can survive the force of death, or whatever might wait for you, I'll wait and I'll fight you, said Naruto. How are you certain that you won't be defeated here, said Temari. As she was looking at the boy, he was so arrogant with it. As Naruto simply raised an eyebrow, as he chuckled slightly. Hey, what's so, Temari? Be quiet, said Gaara. I'll wait, Gaara said, as he looked at Naruto, as he walked off. Temari and Kankuro were shocked. Gaara actually listened. The sound team didn't arrive. Naruto-kun, the girl Sumaira said as she came closer. I wanted to ask you, since you're from Konoha and we're from the sound, if you can give us some pointers also for the forest. Please, she asked, with those puppy dog eyes. Why not, Naruto thought. Why not send them into the den of a lion? Fine, just make your way towards the water sources at dusk, never at noon or in the morning, because the fiercest predators go in that hour. A relatively safe place is at the northern east. A couple of caves, but they're covered by poison ivy, so you might want to be careful while moving through it. And don't harm a single snake in the forest, he said. Whatever happened, make sure you don't harm any snakes, he said once again. There's a guardian in the forest that will come after you, and your entire team, and I'm sure that he won't let you leave alive. Karen, glare at the boy. You're making fun of her, you bastard, she said, as Naruto chuckled as he turned his gaze towards Karen. Truth or lie, we live in shadows. Asking me questions is a rather stupid thing. Remember that you're a ninja, said Naruto. We all are. As Karen pulled the girl along with her. As Naruto substituted with a clone at a quick second, knowing who was coming next. The group to arrive next was the second group from Kumo, the ones that had Naruto as their classmates, who was most surprised that Naruto gave them the cold shoulder as he stood there staring at the boulder, clearly ignoring them. Yugura said nothing. Fate was cruel, too cruel sometimes, and he could silently watch as Naruto had his arms crossed, ignoring them. Saya, the self-called lady of Genjutsu, wondered if throwing a senbon through his skull would be ladylike or unladylike. She shook her head as she sighed. It would be unladylike as she waited for Shoko. Shoko, on the other hand, pulled out her retractable metal staff as she started to march straight towards Naruto. If you hit him, you'll get disqualified, Uncle said. Both Saya and Yugura sighed. The girl was strong, and they didn't have the strength to stop the monkey of Kumo, her nickname. Shoko stopped, though breathing heavily. She was a tomboyish girl that has done a great deal of stupid things in her life. She accepted Yuguru first advances. Despite everything, she had actually liked him as well, and she kind of pushed him into it. He liked her, but he was just too afraid to admit it, so she hit him like a boy would. But when he finally admitted, she blushed like a girl. But now she wanted to know why, one of her best friends, as Naruto became her best friend while he was at the village. The both of them doing all kind of things, going around pranking people, refused to talk to her. He was so kind-hearted and nice, but now she felt betrayed. She didn't know what the reason was. She retracted the staff as she moved back towards her teammates. As she sighed heavily, she whispered to him one word, and that was all. Meanwhile, the real Naruto watched as he wondered why the clone was not dispersing. Why the clone just stood there after hearing that one word. Then he realized the clone seemed incredibly sad. It didn't want him to hear what she said. But the clone poofed away as Naruto got what she said. Betrayer. It hurt. Someone called him betrayer. He was doing this so he could be with them, but it hurt. It hurt. He had made a mistake and now he had to pay it back, but he couldn't tell them, and they weren't understanding. As he returned back to his spot with a heavy sigh, as Choji, Shikamaru, and Ino came in. As Naruto stopped in front of Shikamaru. "Yo," said Shikamaru as he looked at Naruto. "Here," said Naruto, as he dropped something in Shikamaru's palm. It was an earring, a bright green one. Ino looked over Shikamaru's shoulder. "How nice. Do you have one more?" "Maybe they could work in pairs," Ino said, as Shikamaru looked up at Naruto and looked back at the forest of death. "Try not to kill my snake, Shika," said Naruto. Ino started to pout as they were ignoring her. "I knew that you trained in there," said Shikamaru. "Don't worry," said Naruto. "They won't attack you with that on." Shikamaru nodded. "One thing, where's your team?" "You can come out now," said Naruto, as the boulder phased away, as Yakumo and Sai was now standing there. Smart," said Shikamaru, as he took off. Yakumo bit her lip. She had did as Naruto told her, as she had a green earring on her ear, and Sai had on a green belt. The Forest of Death was Naruto's playground, and he had taken a lot of missions inside. After a tour, the cat decided that it was a new playground for him, as the Chunin assigned the scroll to them. As they took it, a dark brown scroll, as a voice clicked in on the monitors. "Well, here's your adorable snake mistress, Uncle-chan, speaking to you today, in this wonderful, marvelous, beautiful, windy day at Konoha. Out of you lot, I expect half of you to reach a tower in the center, or maybe even less. The purpose of this task is to catch the opposite scroll. You have already been assigned a scroll. Get the opposite of that. Once you got both, bring them to the base of the tower and open them up. Doing it before that will be an automatical disqualification, and you need all your teammates to do so all of you must reach the end. You have 4 days. Oh, and whatever happened, don't you dare harm my snakes. They are just misunderstood creatures that..." Her voice was cut off as another one spoke up. "This is the fourth Hokage speaking. I hope you're all ready to fight, but mostly I hope you can understand the true meaning behind the will of fire that is so much." Minato was cut off as a voice of the Raikage yelled, "Kumo ninjas, fight on! Son, 3 years and I'm hitting you with a lariat. So be prepared to..." The voice is cut off once again as Uncle chimed in once again. "And you can begin the test," she said. As Naruto smiled at that before the gates opened, as they made their way inside. Time skip with Naruto group. As Yakumo was looking around, snakes were all over the trees. "Would you mind explaining the plans?" I asked as he looked around, as snakes were jumping onto Naruto's shoulders, hissing and jumping away. "First off, we head straight towards the tower base," said Naruto. "Then we wait and provide support for all of the Konoha ninjas. After all, I love Konoha so much. We have to get them there safely." As Sai narrowed his eyes, as the group continued to move, the snakes parting for them. Meanwhile, with Sakura's group, they had been walking for hours. They had to stop and catch a breather as Yagura looked fine though. Something that Sakura's upset about, her lack of stamina. She should have trained more, she knew that. She should have trained from the beginning. But right now they were in the Forest of Death, as she had no idea where a water source was. All they knew was that they were there, as she was in front of a giant, hollowed out tree. As Sakura reached up and touched the earring, as she held onto it and smiled a bit. "What does that dope have that I don't?" As Yagura turned, so did Sakura, looking towards Sasuke. Sakura blinked in confusion. What are you talking about, Sasuke-kun?" She wondered, was Sasuke jealous? Normally, she would have been happy. Sasuke was her crush, her dream, her love. But now, what was he to her? A guy that didn't care if she lived or died. A guy that didn't care if she got drenched in the water and never came out. A guy who snapped at others for trying to help him, as Yagura was trying to help him with his training regime. But Sasuke just snapped at him, because Yagura was moving more flexible. He didn't like that at all. Yet Naruto went out of his way to take all the blame for what happened, and she didn't know what he was being put through at the moment for what he did, and she got off scot-free. She didn't like that at all. "You've been touching that damn earring every single time now. He's an enemy, and you're playing couple up with him. You should be ashamed," Sasuke said. Sakura frowned as her face twisted in anger. Ashamed? Ashamed of what? Of liking a gift? Because I'm still a girl? It's a nice earring, it's a nice gift. And Naruto's a nice person. Something you will never be, because you're too focused on your Avenger path to ever figure that out, she said. Sasuke's eyes narrowed before they turned angry. What the hell do you know? Of losing your family, to see them all be killed in front of you, he asked. Nothing, but Naruto is one of the last members of his clan as well. But he doesn't go around moping or cursing everyone about it. He hates being called by his surname because he doesn't want to be related to that. He wants to be known for what he is, for what he's gonna be. Naruto is Naruto and you are just an emo, she said. Emo? Emo? Silence, you two, said Yagura. You're making so much noise, you're gonna attract too much attention. Yeah, I pity they already did that. As Yagura jumped away, as a ninja emerged with a smirk. Meanwhile, on Anko's side, as Anko jolted a bit as she felt strange, a pain coming from her shoulder. No, it can't be, she thought to herself, as she got to her feet and dashed towards the tower exit. As the seal was pulsing, bringing her there. Not you. No, not here, she said, as she dashed forward, thoughts drifting into her mind. Fake trust, fake smiles, then the blood, the experiment, the deaths. No, he couldn't be here. It took her half an hour to get there. When she did, Orochimaru stood there in the clearing, discarded his fake grass ninja body, as he was smiling to himself, as he was standing in front of a scared Kunoichi who was trembling in fear. And over to the side, the Uchiha held onto his neck. Yagura was in a tree, embedded in it. Anko wasn't sure if he was dead or not. Anko wasted no time, sending Jashu, as Orochimaru grabbed Sasuke by the leg as he ran at the tree, getting away from her snakes. The damn brat was gonna get caught up in the crossfire, but she didn't care. The council will understand. Well, sure they will. But Orochimaru had to come first. Then, she'd worry about the brat. My ex-student. It's quite the pleasure to see you here, Orochimaru said, as he left Sasuke among the thick branches. Before jumping down as he had to dodge a volley of kunais and shurikens that came from Anko, he smiled the entire time. What a good little reunion, isn't it, Anko-chan? Anko wastes no time. No, this is, she said as she released a fire style from her mouth that was attached to a lot of cables that she threw earlier that was attached to the kunais. As a fire, aiming directly towards him, it slammed right into Orochimaru, who did not move. But it was none other than a mud clone. As Anko dropped, feeling like intense pain looming over her entire body. Still a failure, I see, Orochimaru said. Well, I suppose failures are meant to be discarded. And you are long overdue, Orochimaru said as he regurgitated the Kusanagi blade from his mouth. Anko could not get away from it, as she closed her eyes, preparing to die, as she felt the blade coming. She then heard it tear through flesh and bone, yet she didn't feel anything. Something warm dropped on her. Blood, as she smelled it. Blood that belonged to someone because it was not hers. Sakura looked up, still petrified in fear, but she saw something that made her scream. Naruto, she screamed out. As Anko slowly opened her eyes, the blade was right through Naruto, and inches away from her face. His hands were covered in blood that he used to grab onto the blade to make sure it did not touch Anko, and blood was coming from his mouth. Are you alright, big sister? Said Naruto, as he looked down at her. So much for bringing him to my side. But how did he get here? Hiroshi and Orochimaru thought. No, that's not possible. The fort wouldn't have taught him that. Orochimaru knew about the relationship of Anko and Naruto, so why not toy with his former pupil a bit more? By toying with her little brother. As Orochimaru pulled out the blade, Anko grabbed Naruto and threw Senbon needles. Unable to focus because the pain going through her body was intense as she jumped away, dropping on the ground as she grabbed onto Naruto. What the hell are you doing? She said. Orochimaru chuckled. Really, Anko? Senbons? As he bit his thumb. Summoning jutsu, he said. There was a massive poof as a massive snake appeared, as Naruto was holding on to his stomach where he had received the wound, as the snake looked down at them hungrily. Orochimaru's arm extended and grabbed Anko and threw her as she smashed into the tree. Why don't you stay there? Let us watch as my snake devour your little brother. Eat him, Orochimaru said. The snake shot forward and swallowed Naruto whole. Anko stood there shocked, as she didn't want to believe what she just saw. No, 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 no. No, no, no! Her mind refused to believe it. The boy that called her big sister was dead. The boy that slept in her lap. The one that pushed himself and sacrificed himself to make sure that she lived. No, she wasn't going to. Her mind refused to come to the terms that he was dead. She couldn't even cry, he was all too false to be true. So she laughed as her mind was on the verge of breaking. Have you lost it, Uncle? Orochimaru said, grinning. Well, a broken toy is still a toy. The snake beside him started to bulge and act strange as Orochimaru looked towards it. Summoning Jutsu, Slippercon. The snake exploded to reveal something bigger. As a snake bigger than the one that Orochimaru summoned was looming over Orochimaru. Naruto was on top of its head. As steam was coming from his wounds that left them completely unblemished, his skin perfectly fine, his red eyes looking down at Orochimaru. Senijutsu, as snakes erupted from both of Naruto's sleeves, forcing Orochimaru to jump as the Slippercon twists. He slammed his body into Orochimaru and slammed him on the ground. Don't eat him, pulverize him, as the snake added pressure as Orochimaru opened his mouth wide. A new Orochimaru slid out of his mouth, slipping away as its lower half was made up of a large snake. You running, you coward, Naruto asked. Orochimaru did not stop though, he did what he wanted to do. Now he had something to do. He was going to get answer from Manda himself to what the hell his father was doing. Because that boy had just summoned a snake. A kid that also knew his techniques. Kabuto wasn't wrong, another Orochimaru. The only difference was the amount of chakra they had and the experience. Orochimaru didn't like this. He didn't like someone that was an enemy to him, following his footsteps. He would have to die very, very soon. As Orochimaru then moved back at the last second, as a fist nearly slammed into his face, the fist obliterated the tree that was beside of him. As Naruto twists and landed on his feet, softly. No, Orochimaru said that was impossible. He couldn't be that fast. You learned the Harushin from your father. Orochimaru snarled. That could be the only way that he came here that fast. He would kill him right here and right now. As Naruto smiled, a sickening smile. As his face was devoid of emotion, yet he smiled. Not telling my secret to someone who almost killed my big sister. Treat me well while I skewer you. As Naruto dropped the weights, the ninjato in his hand got charged with wind chakra as he shot forward. Orochimaru smirked as the boy rushed towards his death. As Orochimaru swung the Kusanagi as it sliced right through Naruto's enhanced blade, tearing through Naruto. But instead of blood, what Orochimaru got was smoke. Don't you know, Snake Man, another Naruto said, jumping down, that I'm the one-man army. Your stupid clones won't scare me, brat, Orochimaru said. One or two can't arm me, said Naruto. You deaf idiot? As Orochimaru snarled, I'd been called idiot by a brat. Orochimaru moved as kunais came raining down on where he would have been. 5 other Narutos stood on the branches, looking down at the man. As Orochimaru looked around, more and more of that blonde brat appeared. Orochimaru started to try and count them. How many could they be? 100? 200? 1000? 2000? Welcome to the jungle. I hope you enjoy your stay. And with that, they all charged down towards him. Orochimaru slammed his hand down. Manjin, he said, as snakes came up in the hundreds rising from the earth. As they all opened their mouth, they all had tontos that skewered the clones. Poof, poof, poof after another. Orochimaru didn't even leave one behind, as the snakes dispelled all of the clones while getting ripped themselves. So the snakes were down and so were the clones, leaving only one, as Orochimaru smirked. Then you must be the real one, he said, as he released a dose of killing intent towards the last remaining Naruto. Nah, the real one already taken, Uncle, to somewhere safe, and you might want to start to run. Why is that? Orochimaru asked. Well, you see, father gave me one of his kunais to use, and I think this is the perfect place to use it. But you know what? No. Orochimaru narrowed his eyes. And why not? Because I'm gonna be the one to kill you, said Naruto. I'm gonna prove my strength. But for now, I'll let you go. You know, it's really funny. Do you understand how fun it is? Because you know what? Never mind. You can go, said Naruto. As the clone poofed away, Orochimaru narrowed his eyes. All that potential gone to waste for Konoha. I feel like I've been toyed with. And I don't like it, Orochimaru said. Meanwhile, Naruto was healing Uncle. At least he could try and numb the pain that she was feeling. You know, I didn't believe for 1 second that you made the bastard run. I couldn't even scratch the real him, Uncle said. I couldn't scratch him either, said Naruto. I just gave him the escape as a most favorable option. And as a sneak that he is, he took it. I'm feeling rather offended by that. You know I didn't mean you, said Naruto. I know, boss, I know. Everything is going according to plan. Anything else? Keep an eye out for the other 2 grass ninjas. The first one over there was Orochimaru, said Naruto. Then you better move, boss. I saw them going towards your team. Last position, Yoru said. As Uncle looked at Naruto. I'll be fine, said Naruto. As he gave her a quick kiss on the forehead. You go back to the tower and warn everyone of Orochimaru. I'll go and save the day, he said. As Naruto jumped down, as Sakura was still holding on to her kunai, she had been ready to strike the man, or at least died trying. You did well, said Naruto as he ruffled her head. If Naruto wanted to take their scrolls, she wouldn't have a problem with that. He saved their lives after all. Now guard your teammates until they get better, and grab his scroll as Naruto pointed the equipment that had a scroll in there. Then go, got it? Wait, she said. I want to change. I don't want to be afraid anymore. After all of this, can you help me, she said. Help me train. He looked sad for a moment. A bitter smile. Sorry, I can't. She looked down. But I can convince someone to help you, he said. Trust me, you like her. I'm learning medical ninjutsu from her right now. He smiled and dashed off. You really think she's gonna accept? Said the Kyuubi. Ring-san. It's the second medic ninja I met who don't outright throw me out of the medical library, said Naruto. Yeah, sure. She's gonna end up asking you to butcher civilians then. Well, that wouldn't be a bad thing, said Naruto. As Naruto looked down towards his jacket where the snake was, who poofed away as he stood there. He was then reverse summoned as he poofed. As he reappeared to where Sai and Yakumo was. Naruto-kun, Yakumo-sai. Stop scaring me, she said. Are you okay? As she saw his shirt was torn with blood there. But to her relief, there was no wound. Listen, we have to get moving. We're being tracked, said Naruto. He said in a whisper right at her ear that made her blush. As Sai was currently at the camp, everything was made down so they would not be tracked or find out. Sai, said Naruto. Where did you get that rabbit? As Sai was holding up a white rabbit, he was hopping around. These things are not in the forest, said Naruto. The fluffiest things in here are lions. Sai nodded as he dismantled camp. As they got moving, meanwhile, Kabuto was with the grass ninja, Misumi. But the strangest thing happened as they were making their way. Misumi suddenly stopped, paralyzed from a snake bite. How didn't he notice? Kabuto was confused. He was a ninja, a snake. Shouldn't be able to paralyze him that easily, without him noticing. But before Kabuto could even do anything, Misumi was severed in half by a snake the size of a wooden trunk, and then it just disappeared back in the forest. Kabuto then heard a scream. Something was definitely wrong out here. It seems that the forest itself was alive, and was trying to kill everyone. Well, Kabuto didn't know how right he was. But guys, it'll be in episode right here. If you want to see the next part, do like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. Remember, share to all of your friends in your social media platform. And also guys, stay in tune for the rest of what is coming your way over in Anime King and Anime King 3. If you're new, yes, you heard that correctly, you are not mistaken. I need have 3 channels, Anime King 2, Anime King 3, which I post on every single day for you guys to enjoy. So go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and your support. And yeah, without further ado, I'm off and I'll see you guys soon. Peace out.